Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam.
We are from group 11. Today we will present the material about the use of componential analysis in translation. Our group member are me, Siti, Citra, Fatimah, Muhammad Ikram, dan Virgita Suli. The first material will be presented by Ikram.
Introduction. Componential analysis or CA. In translation is not the same as componential analysis in linguistics. In linguistics, componential analysis means analyzing or dividing the various sense of a word into component sense that may or may not be universal in translation. The basic process is the compare a foreign language word with a foreign language that has the same meaning but no obvious equivalent. By first pointing out the similarities and difference of the meaning components, usually the foreign language word has a specific meaning than the foreign language word, and the translator should add one or two foreign language meaning components to the corresponding foreign language word to produce a closer meaning. Next slide. Lexical words. In some contexts, the difference between hard and soft beats can be expressed by Kipfen and potion or beats. But this partly a subjective judgment as the first example of CA primary use. I use the word blafard, marquee, and mice, which in some contexts don't quite translate individually. Blafardy is usually translated as pale or in subtle context, pale or tasty, and collocates rather narrowly with tenti color in additional components
Ikram, microphone.
Almost fade, 3 unpleasant, 4 tasteless, and many dictionaries, even the best ones, both monolingual and bilingual, tend to mention synonyms rather than mentioning the semantic components of a word. The second of use componential analysis in translating cultural and institutional words that the reader are likely to understand whether the CA is accompanied by a faithful translation, a redirecting, and a functional equivalent, a cultural equivalent, and so on will depend first and the particular type of text. Second, the needs of the reader or client, which also ignore the usual characteristics of the type of text. And third, the importance of the cultural word in the text. The above considerations will affect the level of detail of the CA, but usually we should include at least one descriptive component and one functional component. In principle, the components in each example are executive or infinite, albeit in decreasing order of significance. These appears equally in stock and native metaphors.
Okay, the next material will be present by Virgita.
Synonym. Ka can be used to distinguish SL synonym in context. Most of the time, such synonym, worship and adore, are used for emphasis only and can be translated by using a verb with an adverb or group of adverb as an implier, where a parallel combining in translation is usually not required. However, when synonyms are combined by an innovative writer, the translator should endeavor to create a parallel equivalent, appreciate, evaluate, appreciate, reward. Next slide. Next slide, please. Okay. Ka can be used to distinguish the meaning of SL culture, set or series when their TL equivalent, despite having transparently similar names, have very different functional and or descriptive components. This goes back to origin of GS relating to kinship terms which being more numerous in developing countries than in industrialized societies are mostly easily explained through GS. Detailed KA stabilities, for example, that photo in not a recliner brown is not usually burned. German has no satisfactory equivalent for cow. The translator can read two components with youth as a classifier, combined or not with the transferred word. Next slide. Conceptual terms. Take for example, liberalism, with its obvious component of individual freedom, which may have further components at any point of the political spectrum, as well as moral and or intellectual attitude that depend on the relevant national culture and group. Often the slipperiest word in any relevant national culture group in any language. It should be not that is it if a concept word becomes a keyword. For example, if it is central to a professional non-literary text, then it can be very useful to analyze the concept componentially in a footnote at its first mention. Repeating the word carefully in a sequence citation. Those grams to hegemonia can be translated as hegemony in the sense of cultural leadership and consensus exercised by the intelligentsia over the institution of a country, which complement the institution of the state.
Okay, thank you, Virgita. I will explain about the neologism material. CA is useful in translating neologism. Did they new words that name newly invented or imported objects or process, or new expression that suddenly fill on one of the innumerable gaps in the language. Researchers are dealing with the human thought and feeling at some level of formality. In each category, it is a question of organizing and components according to their order of importance. In the first category, consider Waldsterben, German neologism dealing with the death of forests due to pollution. Although the causative component is not present in the German term, it should preferably appear in the translation. Forest destruction is misleading, as if that of forest will probably present itself depending on the feature of as it trained. In the case of a new object, the word SL will most likely become a trademark and CA can only be used as a gloss. Thus, magnesite and double glazed patiodur that retains warmth. In the second category, the CA of a new idiom such as get your act together demonstrate four components. First, concert preparation. Second, ensuring effective action. Third, implication of previous disarray. Fourth, pragmatic informality. And translator is left with the problem of transferring the first two components, if not the third, into the TL are unfortunately bilingual dictionaries and do not give equivalents that are on a different level of formality. SEA can that record pragmatic meaning will ensure the translator doesn't merely transfer the denotative meaning of neologism, such as a downer or a sedative. A wave or moderatory critic of Mers Zetker or a leaguer or lifelong freeloader. Word as MVTHS. The explanation of the cultural differences between the word that have the same meaning, same referent, but with different pragmatic components covered by CA, rather than two separate definition. Thus, the translator, when confronted with the different definition of capitalism, given in British and Soviet in the Oxford Sudden Dictionary of Current English, can first note the same substantive or descriptive component, private ownership of the means of production, and distinguishing function component. British, the basis of a system of society which over freedom the operate of managed property of profit under conditions of competitions. Soviet, the basis of exploitation of man by man. There is nothing specifically English or Soviet about this legitimate internationalist definition of capitalism, but if necessary, it is the translator's job to indicate which meaning the words have in the Ezel text, and the CA over the most appropriate and economical and necessary method of making this distinction. So the conclusion is we have briefly reviewed 7 years of say in translation. We see it as a flexible but orderly method of bridging the numerous lexical gaps, both of linguistic and cultural, between one language and another. Needless to say, it will never do it perfectly. In its fight against under-translation or use of synonymy, it will tend to over-translate. In its striving for accuracy, it will tend to sacrifice economy and therefore the pragmatic impact, which may well be sold short. However, it is likely be more economical than paraphrase or definition. Operationally, it rests on the existence of universals and cultural overlaps, as does all translation, but theore- theore- theoretically, it does not attempt to enter that field of philosophical and linguistic controversy. Many will regard it as no more than common sense, but I hope we have shown you by demonstrating the various approaches and techniques that there is more to it than that. So this is the end of our presentation. Thank you.